Hi, Teacher Amanda here. I wanted to go over a few tips to help you get hired. If you would like more tips and more support throughout the hiring process, go ahead and look up my Facebook group. It's called VIPKID Help Wanted. You can search that in Facebook or click on the link below, and I'll have lots more resources and Q&As and just good support throughout the hiring process. So check that out if you're looking to get hired. But here are a few tips. First of all, TPR. If you don't know what that means, you will, believe me, you'll have it down once you go through this hiring process. It's total physical response. And a reason why this is so important is because when you are talking to children over the internet, especially when there's a language barrier, sitting here and just talking to them is not gonna cut it. You need to have some physical involvement throughout your teaching. So there are so many easy ways to do this, but it does take practice. It's not gonna necessarily come naturally, especially when you're getting into this for the first time. It takes a little bit of practice. So one of the biggest things is pointing to your mouth for them to repeat and then cupping your ear to listen to them. So going back and forth, that will become very second nature to you in the VIPKID classroom. But this tells them to repeat what you're saying, and this tells them you're listening to them. It also kind of signifies that they should be talking at that point. There are plenty more. I know a few that I use or maybe have kind of made up. Happy, pointing to your mouth, or if you're trying to give them options when they're choosing something on a slide, you can do a hand here. Is it this or is it this? Which one? Or, sad, like just getting into it, using your body, using physicality to your advantage to involve them, and they eat this up. Like seriously, today I was teaching one about horses and riding, and I did ride, like you're riding on the back of a horse. I don't even know if that's how you ride a horse, but kids enjoy seeing us get excited. The more involved you are into the lesson, the more involved they are going to want to be. And you need to be able to demonstrate TPR in your demo lesson and in your mock lesson. So it's important to have a grasp on this early on in the hiring process. So that's tip number one. Number two, energy. It kind of goes along with TPR, but even doing TPR, you could be very low energy and very nonchalant. They want to see energy. All right, the mock mentor will be looking at this when you do your mock class. Are you enthusiastic about what you're teaching? Do you have any, are you excited or are you bored? They're gonna notice that. And so it's important to exert some energy. And if you're not naturally an energetic person, try and play that up a little bit more than normal. Think Sesame Street, think kids shows I think are a good way to kind of gauge what level of energy you should be at. But if you are low energy, you'll probably see some points docked for that. Synthetic phonics is going to be tip number 3. That is basically a different way of learning phonics than what you're used to. If you see the alphabet chart behind me, there's a lot of letters that we kind of add an extra sound. So for B, we often say B. For D, we often say duh, here in the US at least. We don't want to do that in the VIPKID classroom. Instead of B, we're going to say B, B. So try to shorten it and barely open your mouth. And just take away that sound. So it's B, D, D. Okay. And then other ones, for example, instead of L for L, you're going to say O. So you're shortening that sound and taking away that extra Because for example, if you teach your students B and duh, then when they learn the word bed, they're gonna say bed-duh. Okay, they're gonna add that extra It's just a challenge for them to decipher if we use our phonics that we're kind of traditionally used to here in the US. It's much better to use synthetic phonics, and you will be evaluated on that. They even at the end of my mock class listened to me. They asked a few different letters and had me repeat what sound I would use for them to make sure my synthetic phonics were on point. So look up some videos. I can provide some links below as well to some good synthetic phonics videos. just to really practice that, because it doesn't come second nature. Again, the VIPKID teaching style is unique, and that's why this hiring process takes some time, because they want you to thoroughly learn their teaching style and be able to demonstrate it before you're hired. Just like any job, you need to be able to show that you have what it takes for them to hire you on. You might be a great teacher, you might have your master's, you might have been teaching for 10 years, but this is so different than the traditional classroom setting. So it's important to put some time and energy into learning the VIPKID teaching style. All right, so tip number 4 is time management. This is another thing you're evaluated on very strongly because pacing is really important. In the actual VIPKID classroom, you are going to want to make sure you finish right around 25 minutes. It is crucial to maintaining your schedule, for example, because if you're teaching 2 classes in an hour, you do a 25-minute class, you leave feedback real quick, then you move on to your next class. There is not much variance from that 25 minutes, maybe like 1-ish or 2-ish minutes, but you really can't be going beyond that. And VIPKID does not look highly upon teachers that go over on time, especially because it creates frustration with parents. If they feel like one teacher taught for 27 or 28 minutes and someone else is teaching for 25, or, like basically that kind of discrepancy is going to create frustration for parents since they're paying for that amount of time. And so we should not be going over, basically. So learn to manage your time. When you get to really even the demo lesson, you're going to want to try and pace yourself correctly. Typically, it's about a minute per slide. There are times where you'll have more slides than normal, and in that case, look through them. Typically, there's some that are going to be very quick. So for example, if I'm doing a unit assessment that has 48 slides, I know that my average time per slide needs to be a little faster. But assessments typically do go faster because it's material the student already knows. But all that to say, practice the material you are given in the hiring process, like your mock lesson. Time yourself with a timer and see what areas you are spending the most time on and see how you can try to condense that. The great thing about teaching ESL is often more is accomplished with less words. You're gonna want to do things in a way that's more concise, model it, have them copy you, rather than try to explain everything, because too many words will confuse them and overwhelm them typically, unless they're like a really advanced student. But point being, it's better to try to do more with less words to try to help them understand. Another important thing is having a good headset. A good quality headset is going to be huge in the hiring process. I actually bought one that was like older at like a used store because I'm a cheapskate and was trying to save money, and it did not have good quality sound, and I got docked for that because it was way too quiet. So I got mine on Amazon. It's a Logitech. It was like $20-$30, but well worth it in the end since it has good quality sound. It can mute, you can adjust the volume of what you're hearing, and it connects super quickly. It has worked great. So make sure you have a good quality headset. This is very important during the hiring process. You also need to have a good computer. Maybe you can borrow someone else's to get hired, right? But you are gonna want to have a computer that has a good connection and like to the internet, so your internet should be on point as well. Make sure that you have good internet speeds that can keep up. You can do an internet speed test. I'll go ahead and give you a link below for that as well, just to see if your internet is fast enough. I know it needs to be at least 20 megabytes per second to keep up with the VIPKID platform. So check your internet as well, but you do need a computer. You can't do something online really without one. You can't do this from your phone, in case you were wondering. That will not work. You need to have that full option of using your keyboard, using your mouse, having a touch screen computer. If you're going to buy one, I would look for one with a touch screen. It does give you an advantage in the classroom to be able to write on the screen with ease. It's much easier than using a mouse, but a touch screen is not required. But personally, I borrowed a computer for the hiring process, and then I bought one when I was hired because I realized it was just a very necessary tool for working for VIPKID. All right, Beyond that, background is going to be our next area of focus. You want something that's educational, right? And that is going to be interesting to the student's eye. So I have the alphabet over here, I've got some numbers over here. I kind of change it up. This is some additional magnetic letters. I use them for different activities, building words, or even as a reward system sometimes. But you want something educational, and that is just visually pleasing to the eye. Some people really go crazy and deck theirs out with a ton of stuff. Don't be overwhelmed. You do not need a million things. You can have one simple educational background. Maybe you just want to have like a basic map. This was like the first thing I bought was a map from dollar store or Walmart, one of the two. But like a big map of the US. You can prop that up. I don't know why I'm showing you this, but you can prop that up behind you for your mock, and that would be great. So just something educational. And I know dollar store is really good. They have like all kinds of classroom themed like packages you can buy. So just stick some things on the wall. It's just a lot more pleasant than having like a plain white background that's super boring. So background's important. Lighting is also important. I would recommend, if you can, at some point buying a ring light. They're very helpful. If you haven't seen one before, because I hadn't, I'm not someone who takes like a million selfies necessarily, so I'd never heard of this, but it connects to your phone or your laptop. Turn it, I guess you can't really see, but you turn it on and it glows really bright. It has mine has three settings, and it clamps on. So you can clamp it on to your phone or your laptop, and it gives you really good focused lighting, almost like a spotlight on your face. So that is really helpful in the VIPKID classroom, because you need to be able to show not only your face and the words that you're mouthing, but you also need to be able to show props nice and up close. So having that good focused lighting is key. And they will grade you on that during the mock as well. They will evaluate your lighting. If you are like super in the shadows and can't be, you guys know what shadows are. If you can't be seen and they can't see your face well, then you're gonna be docked there as well. Next tip is listening. Now, this is an area I really struggled in during the mock because I was so focused on getting my presentation correct that I just did not put forth enough energy into listening. They will include errors purposefully. It's not to trip you up. They don't find some strange joy in making you, make mistakes. But basically, if they make an error, like they say instead of an, or they completely drop a word in a sentence, I see monkey, right, instead of I see the monkey, or I see a monkey. They will purposefully do that because that's extremely realistic for what you're gonna see in the VIPKID classroom, and it's an area of importance. We need to be listening, and it's kind of two tips in one. We need to be listening well, and we need to be providing error correction. So be listening. Take the time to listen to how they are talking and if they're saying things correctly. If they are not, provide that error correction. So right into our next tip of correcting properly, make sure you are not correcting in a negative manner. Typically these kids are young. The age range is 4 to 12, but I have a lot of young students, and you never say no, wrong. You're not ever like admonishing them. It's always very positive correction. Typically, if I see a mistake, it's like, good, so close. And then I repeat, I see the monkey. Like if they left out the, and then I listen again. Good job. And I extra celebrate, get out the pom-pom, go crazy, have some fun with it. But instead of saying, no, Tina, wrong, it's I see the monkey. And I think that you typically wouldn't be negative in correction, but what might happen is you may not know how to correct positively. So basically still give them like, oh, good job for effort, and then kindly, positively give them the correct answer again. Quick thing in the real classroom when this happens, don't dwell on it too long. There are times where students are just not gonna get it at this point. And so personally, I give it like 2 tries. And if they're just not getting there, if they can't find the ability to say that other word, just leave it, come back to it, make notes of it in the feedback. and you can come back to it at another time. But you don't want to dwell on one mistake too long, because although error correction is important, you don't want to get stuck there, because then you may not get to all your other slides, and that's important too. So error correction is kind of an area that you want to spend some time at least preparing for. Just be aware it will happen, and you need to be able to handle it in a positive way, but do address it. Orange shirt, I feel like everyone has said this, so wear orange if you have some. This is kind of a burnt orange. I'm not currently teaching or applying, so, but do wear an orange shirt and look, semi-professional. You don't want to look like you just woke up, because like in any job application or interview, they're not going to take too kindly to that. Red lips is an option. This is like a tinted chapstick, but if I didn't have anything on, you probably wouldn't be able to see my lips at all because they're pretty pale. So the importance of that is it's not mandatory, but it does help in seeing the formation of words. You are going to literally be teaching like individual sounds. So there's times where we're doing ice, you, cube. And so it's important for them to see exactly what sound you're making and how you're shaping your mouth. Having a little bit of color here does make a real difference there. So it's not like, oh, you gotta wear all this makeup for class. I mean, I typically roll out of bed and then like don't brush my teeth or anything, but just put some lip stuff on and then go teach. So I just think it does help. And lastly, or close to lastly, test out your classroom environment ahead of time. This is super important for the mock especially. You should be able to get into your mock class about 24 hours in advance. And minimally, I would try to check it out like an hour ahead of time. The goal here is just to get familiar with the VIPKID platform. It's different, right? It's gonna be unique. I'm sure you know that already, but you're gonna wanna test out that your sound's working okay. There's gonna be like a little sound gauge. It'll show you if you have an acceptable volume or not. So just making sure you can be heard okay, how your visuals look. You can go ahead and open your camera, see how you look. How does your background look on the screen? Is everything visible? Do you have any crazy shadows? Do you need to adjust your lighting? Is your internet speed keeping up, or is your video really choppy? There will be an area when you get into your classroom and you look where it says your name. Mine is Teacher Amanda ZQM. You can open your camera and you can also look at some of your settings. So you can kind of check on some of those and make sure things look like they're ready to go. I would recommend just checking out the classroom and getting familiar with it ahead of time. There will be more information on this throughout the hiring process as you go along. A lot of information and resources will be provided to you by VIPKID to prepare you for the mock. But I just wanted to give you that insight ahead of time to take advantage of the classroom being available to you before the actual mock takes place. And lastly, during the mock, make sure that you practice modeling. I think I touched on this a little bit earlier, but instead of always just expecting that you will tell your students to do something and they will do it, make sure you're modeling these things. So like with the circling, show them how to circle on your whiteboard or on the screen before you expect them to. So you want to show them it first, demonstrate it, and then kind of take the training wheels off, as others have said, and then eventually they can do it on their own. That's the goal. But I think a lot of the times when people get tripped up on a certain slide, it's because they don't think about the fact they could just model what to do first and then show the student, okay, now it's your turn to try. So that's usually really helpful, especially when it's like kids' first time drawing on the screen. I'm like, I'll show a mouse and I'll say, circle, circle, and then I'll do a circle. And then my ultimate goal will be for them to then circle. And so I'll teach them that word, circle, circle, and I'll show them it, right? And then I will prompt them to do it and maybe give them a little bit more demonstration until they're able to do it on their own. So that modeling is really, really key in the VIPKID classroom. You'll use that frequently. If you have any questions at all, if you are interested in VIPKID, if you are skeptical about VIPKID, whatever it is or wherever you're at, I would love to answer your questions. My email is below. you can email me directly. I'll get back to you quickly. You can also find me on Facebook. I have a hiring support group for those who are just maybe wanting to learn more or who would like to be hired by VIPKID to earn some extra money, good money from home. So the group is VIPKID Help Wanted. You can search that in facebook.com or you can click on the link below. Thanks for watching.